Hey there, welcome back to Science Fiction. My name is Salim and as always, I'm joined by my co-host and friend Carl Ames. Carl, how are you?
Good to see you, Salim. It's been a little bit, and welcome back to Science Flixtion. And
Yeah,
yeah, I'm happy to be here talking about some more stuff, some more Marvel stuff. Lots happened.
it has. We've had some issues. We had like technical issues because my internet was being weird,
Yeah, I'm not
and
looking up your
then
nose anymore.
yeah, and then last time we were recording, I had to do it on my phone, and then last week we were off because of the Bears. It's all the Bears' fault that we had to miss conversations on science fiction, on movies and stuff. But yeah, we're back to our regular schedule programming. We have a lot of crazy things to talk about. Are you excited though for Multiverse of Madness?
3 o'clock tomorrow. I absolutely am. Can't
I've
wait.
avoided. Yeah, I'm going on Saturday, but I've avoided clicking on any Marvel topics in general trending because some really bad person put a spoiler. Apparently, that's what I heard. I haven't seen the spoiler, luckily, because somebody warned me.
Mhm.
Under like No Way Home, like it wasn't even a Doctor Strange trend. It was a No Way Spider-Man No Way Home trend that they put some kind of spoiler that's supposed to be pretty big, and yeah, they ruined it for a lot of people, and that person should probably like get poked in the eye or something because that's just dirty pool. That's bad behavior. Like people like that, I hate people like that, man. What do you get out of it? Like just go punch yourself in the face. Like what do you like? Why are you ruining things for everyone else? But yeah, that was
Some
so
people just like
basically
to see the world burn, man.
I guess, man. Like I basically have been avoiding clicking on anything Marvel related because just in case that trend is supposed to be under other things too. I'm just like, yeah, you know what? I can wait a week before I click on Marvel stuff again. Like I haven't even searched. Like I watched the finale of Moon Knight, and I didn't even search anything on Moon Knight because I was like, you know what? Just in case, I don't want to get have a spoiler happen. But yeah. Anyways, we'll be interesting. Obviously, next week we'll talk about that. Our thoughts on that movie and the surprise that supposedly is going to be pretty big. That'll be interesting to see what that's about. But yeah, let's kind of get into our show because uh, we have a lot going on. A lot of various Marvel and DCEU, so MCU and DCEU updates. Just various stuff that figured we would hit that up um, before we because there's obviously so much going on in general this spring and summer with Marvel and DC, and we're gonna have so much things to talk about. But the first things first, they had announced that the Marvels and Ant-Man and the Wasp, the Quantumania, uh, are going to switch dates. So Ant-Man will open February 17th, 2023, and the Marvels will open July 28th, 2023. So they're just kind of switching it up. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't have like any like in depth because I don't think they gave any real reason for it. I mean, of course, it could be reshoots in mind, in particular for Marvel, since that's the one that's getting delayed. It could have something to do with just the way they want information presented, just like how this Thor trailer took so long for it to come out. But one of the reasons why is because they were waiting for Moon Knight to get people more interested and more knowledgeable about gods and other things, and just the whole setup and the whole plan and stuff. So it could just be what makes more sense to have Ant Man, uh, whatever is in Ant Man. We know like Kang, right? We know that much. That's pretty much all we know about Ant Man is going to have Kang in it, and if that's more relevant to their future plans, which is like slightly. not off topic, but like related news. I didn't make a slide for it, but at this CinemaCon, which is like half of what we're talking about, the CinemaCon, Kevin Feige said that they have the next 10 years of Marvel planned out, like, or at least they're going to be very soon. So they know what movies that they are wanting and intending to make for the next 10 years. So maybe they're like, hey, you know what? That makes just more sense for Quantumania to come out before the Marvels and whatever it is in those movies.
Yeah, I actually heard. I was actually reading it saying that Ant Man was just further along in production process,
Yeah.
so that's why they're. I think it's interesting because for the most part, the Ant Man movies have kind of been standalones in a sense. Like there's just like small parts that intertwine intertwine with like the rest of the MCU and stuff, but like when you consider the Ant Man movies, they haven't really been like the plots of the movie hasn't really outside of the last one with the quantum realm really hasn't interacted with the rest of the MCU. So like you have to wonder. Obviously, maybe the things will change because of King the Conqueror is going to be supposedly, or he is confirmed to be in Ant Man and Wasp Quantumania. Um, so maybe that's going to be like where they start bringing more of the implications to the rest of the MCU, more so with Ant Man and the Wasp not than they have previously. But it was interesting to me, like maybe they weren't really concerned with any timelines or anything. So they just said, you know what, you guys are further ahead, so we'll just put you out first instead of making you guys wait. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Maybe that was nothing rumor, or as far as the reasons, I should say the production process being quicker, or maybe that's the actual reason. Actually, is the actual reason. But yeah, it's going to be fun seeing. Yeah, 10 years. That's pretty great. I mean, when you think about it, it makes sense because when they obviously with Fantastic Four and the mutants coming in, I'm sure they have like a thorough plan for what they want to do with the mutants, and I wouldn't be surprised if bulk of those 10 years has something to do with mutant movies.
It
like
better.
like well you consider like like I don't know if I think I had talked to you about this before, but a part of me like kind of wants to leave the X-Men separate from just because they could do so many things with X-Men and mutants just on their own as opposed to intertwining with like the Avengers. But then I also think like they have to like somehow be related, like connected somehow. But it's just interesting. Like I said, because they have so many storylines. I don't know how if they'll try to redo Phoenix just because Phoenix Saga has been done so many times, maybe MCU. But you know what? We're just gonna step away from that
They'll
type of
probably
stuff.
wait a little bit longer on that. But yeah, I totally agree with you. As long as they don't do the whole like the Spider-Man approach of it and like kind of oversaturate him with the MCU, with the whole Iron Man and Doctor Strange and all of these other characters just jumping in there, and then him jumping into everything else. Like I would not want that for the X-Men. Absolutely. Like I don't want them to be the way they were with the Fox movies where they are actually separate, but I do want them to have
Right.
their own, because that's always how I always viewed the comics, where I could just read X-Men comics and I know Captain America and Iron Man and Hulk are in the same universe, but they don't really come over across the street where the X-Men are, and the X-Men don't everyone stays in their lane every once in a while. Hey Tony, what's going on? Or you just stay over there and mind your business, like sort of stuff. And that's how I've always viewed X-Men comics up until basically X-Men versus Avengers, that
Right.
storyline. Yeah.
And like even like anytime they do have major crossovers, it's usually like the standalone. Like when Wolverine does his solo stuff, you'll see more so crossover with other MCU or like with Spider Man, um, with Captain America and all that other stuff. But like for the most part, like yeah, you said, like the X-Men are just in their own thing because of the whole mutants versus humans stuff. It kind of because like obviously the other Marvel heroes are not mutants; they're humans. So I mean, not to say that they're against the X-Men, but it's kind of there is a dividing like line, between their worlds in a sense. So yeah, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what MCU does, like if they will really, you know, do it similarly to the comics where they'll kind of keep it separate. Obviously, they'll have some interchangeable stuff depending on the characters, but yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to find out. Speaking of Fantastic Four, some I was disappointed to hear this. That's because John Watts has been really good director for MCU. He did a great job at Spider-Man: No Way Home, but they're saying that John Watts decided to drop out of directing Fantastic Four. What were your original thoughts when you heard about that? Like, what went to your mind?
Well, he's saying he's dropping out because not for any dramatic reasons or any creative differences or any type of exaggerated things like that. It's just more that he's tired. He's directed all of the Spider-Man MCU movies. That's Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home, and he's still, for what we understand, is slated to direct the next Spider-Man movie. So him doing all of that plus the Fantastic Four, he was going to, but it looks like he's just wants a break and he is tired. That's all, and there's nothing else to really read into it for that. I mean, sure, I've enjoyed the last three Spider-Man movies. I don't think they're amazing. I mean, No Way Home, yes, but um, not to say that I would know exactly what a Fantastic Four movie would have been with John Watts's direction. It's hard to say, but in the very least, I do have faith that Marvel will find a good director to take up the helm, because I'm sure there's plenty of people that really love the Fantastic Four and would love to see them adapted well within the MCU with all of the characters that are at their disposal, as opposed to previous versions of the Fantastic Four movies where they didn't have that luxury. Um, but yeah, it is. It's a little sad, but it's not. It's not like, I don't think it's a huge loss. I'm just glad he's dropping out now before any like casting happens. Or at least
Right.
we don't know. I mean, publicly at least, if anyone's casted before any sort of clear directions being made, they can get someone. Still, it's still very early in the process.
Right, and to your point, so there was a quote from Marvel heads like Kevin Feige and Luis D'Esposito said in a statement, "Collaborating with John on the Spider-Man films has been a true pleasure. We were looking forward to continuing our work with him to bring the Fantastic Four into the MCU, but understand that and are supportive of his reasons for stepping away. We are optimistic that we will have opportunity to work together again at some point down the road." So obviously that leaves it open that obviously that he will be back at some point, and like you said, probably to do Spider-Man 4, that which has been weird, like has been confirmed and then they've kind of been coy about it, and then I don't know. I'm sure it's going to get made at some point. I'm just hoping it's not too long. Like I hope they don't wait like 4 years before they decide to bring that out. Like, but we'll see. But yeah, like I was just slightly disappointed just because like I liked his work and I really want Fantastic Four obviously to be great because it's been such a disaster the last few times we've seen it. So like it would have been nice to know like, okay, well, we know this guy's a good director, so that's at least good to see. But obviously MCU does a good job in general, and maybe they'll go to like Sam Raimi, and because obviously with um Multiverse of Madness supposedly being so good, maybe he's gonna open his way and he'll get an opportunity to direct something else with them as well. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's good to hear that it's not for like creative reasons. It's just like I just want a break, and like you also said, it's good that he's doing it right now as opposed to like let's say they were in like pre-production process and there's like or even like in the middle of filming. That would be even worse. Like you say, I don't want to do this anymore. It's like, well, this is not good. Like
Yeah,
we can't have another disaster Fantastic Four. What is going on?
yeah. I don't want it to be like Zack Snyder dropping out of Justice League and that whole
Right.
thing.
Right, exactly. So yeah, it's like I said, it's semi disappointing just because of the fact that it's like Marvel MCU fans have familiarity with him, and we're all dying for a good Fantastic Four movie. So we'll be. I'm more interested now to see when they finally decide who is going to play who in the Fantastic Four, and maybe that's one of the big surprises. Maybe that we'll find out in Doctor Strange. Maybe that's going to be like something that we find out like, oh, these guys are going to play Fantastic Four, or their variants or whatever, like some form of them. Um, will be interesting. It'll be interesting. But moving on, so Venom 3 and I guess Ghostbusters Afterlife. Obviously, Ghostbusters is not part of MCU. That's we're not breaking any news here that Ghostbusters is part of MCU or Marvel in general. But yeah, those have been in works at Sony. They basically have announced that they're making sequels at CinemaCon in Las Vegas. That they announced that they were doing these things. Um, I don't. I know you didn't watch Afterlife when
Right.
we had talked about it, and you were lukewarm maybe on Venom 3. Oh, Venom 2. I think like you thought it was okay, but nothing spectacular, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's about right. Sure.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not surprising that they're doing a third one. Obviously, it's Sony
Right.
uh, milking these Spider-Man movies, which we'll be talking about another one in a little bit. But
And very shortly.
um, yeah, they're milking these Spider-Man characters. So obviously, with and the way they ended Spider-Man 2 with uh, what the hell is his name? Carnage's son. Um, I forget. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, they're
Toxin.
Toxin. That's right. He's going to be obviously more likely in Spider-Man or Venom 3. Who knows what they're going to do? Maybe they'll do something goofy again, like what they did with the post credits teaser and Morbius. Who knows? I don't know. We're not going to talk about that right now because that'll just annoy us.
Yeah, but that's
uh,
like that's the thing about like I mean, get back to me not really caring about Venom too much. I mean, we had the first movie which had what was his name? The the antagonist in the first movie.
oh yeah. See,
Um
I
I
always
forget.
forget
I
it.
always forget all of the different symbiotes names. But the whole point is that
Yeah.
the whole franchise right now is just revolving around the symbiotes, having Carnage. Like Carnage is inevitable. He's the iconic villain of all of them, and we definitely needed to have him in Venom movies. But all of the other symbiotes don't really need to show up and be the only opposing force within the Venom movies because it's getting kind of bland, right? We had the
Right.
first one, the second one, and now the third one's going to have another one, and it's like, okay, can he have other villains that are not symbiote based? Can he have something else? I mean, I know you can't do Spider-Man, or at least you're trying to get some sort of Spider-Man going. Um, Figure that part out instead of adding another movie with another symbiote villain that he has to eat at the end. And it's like, okay, like I've already written half of the next movie in just this last sentence, so I'm like, can we get something that's a little bit more interesting than this? You have this wide range of characters to pull from, and you choose El Muerto to be the next movie, which is going to segue into the next section that Sony has announced that uh,
Yeah.
they're making a movie off a character called El Muerto, and is going to be played by Bad Bunny, whoever that is. I don't know.
That's that's a music artist.
Yeah, I
He's
mean,
a he's
I'm just
that's
saying
his
I
Bad
don't know
Bunny
who he
is
is.
it's yeah, it's so his name is Benito Antonio Martinez
Ocasio.
Ocasio. So yeah, Bad Bunny is his stage name, his rapping name or whatever if you have it.
Right. So Bad Bunny is, or excuse me, El Muerto. I'm not gonna like. I don't want to speak disrespectfully to Bad Bunny because again, I don't know who he is. Music could be amazing, it could be terrible. That's not really the point here. So he could be a great actor or a terrible actor. I have absolutely no idea his prowess or history, or expertise or skill. The character Bad Bunny, or excuse me, the character El Muerto, the one on the left with the Lucha Libre mask choking out Spider-Man, the character has been in literally two comic books in this entire character history, and that was like 20-ish years ago, give or take. He's not been seen in Marvel Comics in the last 20 years. Again, it's been total two comic books. And now he's getting his own movie thanks to Sony and whoever had the great idea. So I do wonder if there's part of if Bad Bunny approached Sony and said, "Hey, I'd love to be in a movie," and a Latino superhero that would be cool, sort of thing. And then they just kind of settled on El Muerto, or if because this is, you know, as long as nothing pops up before this movie comes out, if it actually happens, this would be the first Hispanic superhero, assuming he's going to be a hero, because he is kind of a villain in the comics, but maybe they position him as a hero. So he would be the first one in live action. If that's Sony's angle, that's really admirable, I think, and great in general. But they could have gone with Miles Morales. They could, he's half Puerto Rican and half black, so that would have worked. They could have gone with Miguel O'Hara. That's Spider-Man 2099. That would have worked. But for whatever reason, they're picking El Muerto, and I don't know. I'm dumbfounded on what direction that they're going.
Yeah, like I was trying to read what do you call it, the backstory on him, and it's basically like the mask essentially gives them this power, and it's
Mhm.
like a family passed down from father, like family to generations, and and essentially what happens is like and like his father wants to give the mask to him, but before he can do that, he has to like challenge like um fight like this character called El Dorado,
Mhm.
and the character Juan Carlos Estrada, the son of Marcus Estrada, like the father who's passing this mask to Juan, he's frightened to fight him, and El Dorado is basically gonna kill Juan, but Marcus steps in the way and saves his son's life. And basically, then El Dorado tells Juan that, look, since the respect to your father, I'm going to give you 10 years. And in 10 years, what you have to do is um, fight another masked like person and unmask them and on live or whatever, or you will die. Type of ultimatum. And then eventually, what he ends up doing is he eventually ends up saving like Jonah Jameson and John Jameson, and then has Jonah set up like a match between him and Spider Man, where he is going to fight Spider Man and unmask him. And the costume that Spidey's wearing here looks kind of like the Iron Spider costume.
Mhm.
So it looks like, and I was reading like, so they were like when they're fighting, I guess Spidey like hits him with some kind of one of his venom. And I don't remember Spider-Man having regular Spider-Man. Like I haven't really read a lot of the new stuff. Um, so like I don't remember him having like venom, and maybe he did in the Iron
Yeah,
Spider
this was
costume.
before Civil War, right before. Yeah,
Right.
he's wearing that, and he has a whole bunch of stuff. He doesn't even. He's still like really relatively new to having this suit, so there's things he doesn't know the suit can do, as well as he doesn't have the fighting prowess that he does now because this is before he trained with Shang Chi, because he gave him the ability like his own spider martial arts. So when he's fighting El Muerto. El Muerto is still, he's a seasoned fighter as far as
Right.
wrestling goes, and then he has the power from the suit. So he actually is holding his own against Spider-Man, who's just kind of
Right.
normally flails about and has uses his powers and his intelligence, but is not a great fighter. But in general, yeah, like stuff like that happens, and
Yeah. And like this is kind of and I guess like he somehow but Spider-Man defeats him, and then El Dorado is going to kill him at the hospital or something, but then Spider-Man saves him from that. Blah blah blah. So I was just reading that. I was like, okay. I mean, is there like a much more to this backstory? I mean, like show his powers is like enhanced strength, endurance, agility, durability when he wears the El Muerto mask. He's a skilled fighter, like you said, the luchador um, fighting style, wrestling style, I should say. But yeah, I mean, like I didn't even know when you just said there was like he's been in 2 comic books. Like what? They're making a movie out of a character that was in 2 comic books? What's going on here? Sony, come on, man.
it hasn't appeared in any comic book. Like I imagine if this movie actually happens, which I hope it does not, but if it actually happens, I'd imagine Marvel will write more comic books. Have them release around the time that the movie comes out. But still, that's just like someone comment when I reacted to this on Twitter. Someone commented and said, because I said this is like a terrible idea, and they said that Sony has to keep making movies with Spider-Man characters to keep the license. And I'm like, I didn't respond to him, but it's still at the same time, it's like, yeah, that's true, but they haven't been struggling to make Spider-Man movies. Like they've been making them. They've been making Morbius and Venom. They don't need to make El Muerto. Like
Right.
it's not like we need to make this El Muerto or we'll lose the Spider-Man license. That's not the case at all. This is just a terrible idea. Again, my personal opinion, terrible idea and a waste of money. Uh, unless they really, really feel like they got something special with Bad Bunny and that he'll bring in an audience. Um, yeah, I don't have any desire to even to to watch it. Unless like if we're still doing this, obviously I'll have to watch this movie to critique it. But if it wasn't for science fiction, I would totally pass on this.
Right. And um as far as like maybe they'll just create their own entire story. Like maybe Sony's gonna just take complete creative privileges and just create a whole new
They'll
story
have
for
to
him.
because they won't have
I mean,
Spider-Man.
yeah, no, correct. Not only not have Spider-Man, but like you said, even if maybe Marvel doesn't even need to make new comics for him, they'll just create their own storyline, and they're just taking the basis of the character because, I mean, there is a market for obviously a Hispanic superhero, definitely, no doubt about
Absolutely.
that. Um, so maybe they're trying to beat like DC to it because obviously DC's doing the Jaime Reyes with
Right. Yeah.
Blue Beetle. So maybe they're trying to beat like Warner Brothers, which we'll get into later, but um, to the punch there in that market. I don't know. It's bizarre. Like it is. It's pretty bizarre, and I don't know. We'll see what they do. Like I said, maybe who knows if it gets into pre-production. I mean, it just kind of just announced that he's gonna play it, but it could go nowhere if they
Mhm.
don't really find anything. But who knows? So at the same time, Sony could just be doing it to milk as much money they can out of Spider-Man. Any any character that soon they're gonna have a movie about the newspaper stand guy that Spider-Man saved. That's a random character in a Spider-Man singular comic book that has no real name or anything, but Sony's gonna create a complete background for that newspaper stand guy.
Which, by the way, related to CinemaCon, they did show off footage for Craven the Hunter.
Oh, they
So,
did.
like, I don't think there's any that leaked out. At least I haven't been looking because I don't look for that
No,
anyway.
yeah,
But they
I've
did
heard a
show
lot.
some.
No, yeah, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off there, but no,
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of stuff that appearing at Comic Con, or whatever you called it. I'm sorry,
CinemaCon.
CinemaCon. Sorry, yeah, that they were like they had like she's what do you call it, Black Adam and some other stuff too that they showed like a preview for. So it will be interesting when they release that to the general public. But yep, that's enough from El Muerto. I don't have really any other thoughts on that.
Done.
Another another MCU news that broke just yesterday or the day before yesterday, I think. I had seen it. The Guardians of the Galaxy 3 set photos reveals Guardians' new Marvel costumes. Um, Basically, the new uniform. So, all the, if you throw those on, uh, so you see the. So, if you go back to the other picture first. So, yeah, so it shows Nebula and it shows Peter Quill, Star Lord. These other characters, I think they're supposed to be probably from this planet. I forget what they're called. There's like a race of, um, I forget in the comics. I think I remember them, but I just can't remember the names of that race. It's just like I can't remember on top of my head, but yeah. So the costumes, though, the new uniforms that the Guardians will wear are actually a classic Marvel comics design, one that some of the fans have been like wanting for a long time to see. And the costumes are direct adaptations of that iconic uniform from the comics, adapted from a 2008 series from Dan Abnett and Andy Lanings, I should say. So you can see the comics version if you flip back to the other picture. Although, yeah, so that shows basically that's a direct copy of their the costume. So that's what they're going with for the new movie. They're adapting more to the comic book. I guess we're finding more and more about the Guardians, and it's supposed to be their last movie, or at least the last of how this current Guardians is going to be. Like, there's going to be a new probably Guardians after that, as far as the team construct is concerned.
I do like the this version of these costumes. Like when I think of Guardians, I do think of the like everyone in a very fairly uniform blue with the red stripes and all of that costumes. Because I mean, I never read Guardians in the comics, but when I heard of them, it was around that Annihilation storyline in the comics, and they were wearing these uniforms. And the Groot has one as well. He has a full on suit as well. So I don't think we're going to see that because he's still kind of the teenage Groot. I don't think he's going to be aged up enough to be full on tall Groot, which is I sidetrack. I still think it's kind of sad that we still messing around with teenage Groot. Like he's technically not the same one from the first Guardians movie, and that he still hasn't grown up to be tall, big Groot again. Like we only had that Groot for one movie. But anyway, the
Yeah,
costumes, like I said, the costumes I really like those in general, and I prefer them over what they've had in the movies so far, just in general. But they're all still really good looks, and hopefully we see Gamora wearing. Well, she's not going to wear what in that picture. She's not going to wear that. Zoe
right.
Saldana's not going to wear that. But find something for Gamora. That'd be fun.
Right, yeah. So it'll be interesting. Kind of visualize what the changes they're making. But yeah, that's it for like the MCU related stuff. We're gonna kind of move into more DC, the future of DC movies and TV. There's supposed to be a big overhaul because of the merger with Warner Brothers and Discovery. So now it's called, I guess, Warner Brothers Discovery. That's what they're called. And essentially, the owner of Warner Brothers, uh, the new owner, I should say, David Zaslav, reportedly they want to do a significant overhaul of DC films and properties, TV properties, the films and TV properties. And essentially, that means like the formation of DC getting its own studios and for the comics, kind of in the same vein like Marvel Studios has, and then they want to find their own Kevin Feige to run it. Obviously, they tried doing that with Zack Snyder, but that was an abomination because Zack Snyder is awful at his job. Um, that's my opinion, at least. But
Mhm.
yeah, so they wanna do that, like do a whole multimedia projects and kind of have more structure the way the way MCU's doing it. Obviously, they probably won't be like copying MCU and the tone and everything of the movies and stuff, but it would make
You never
sense
know.
to maybe. But I mean, I think it would make like I don't like the the stuff they've done with like Peacemaker and stuff. I think that's fine. Like the tone is fine. Like you just have to have like structure.
Hmm.
It's not about the tone of the movie. It's about how the plot and structure of the movies and how they connect to each other. It can't be random stuff, and you can't just like try to introduce characters all at once into um one like movie, right? Like you like the Justice League. When we watched the first Justice League, they were introducing like all these characters just randomly into the like Aquaman, Cyborg, Flash, and it's like, man, these are two big characters to just introduce like that. You have to have background stories on them. Like obviously, comic book fans know who they are and know like the ins and outs of the characters and their storylines, but like the casual viewers don't really know a lot about them, and you can't just put in random like subplots and things that only comic book readers would understand. It's like, dude, come on, you gotta have some sense in this whole process. But yeah, they're looking to do that. It'll be interesting as far as how that works out. Like, what are your thoughts in general with hearing all this?
Well, I agree with what Matthew said there. Like they should get Jim Lee or Jonathan Hickman to be their Feige, and I actually am still very much surprised that they, especially someone like Jim Lee specifically, or Scott Snyder, like some of their writers, like some of their more Jeff Johns, prolific writers and prolific parts of DC Comics. I'm surprised that they have been not being like spearheads within the DC movie landscape, because I fully I don't know, maybe I'm mistaken, or something like that, but I thought for sure that that was going to happen. Remind me, we actually skipped Spider-Man in there because I think we have to come back and talk about Spider-Man. I'm looking at that, but
Spider Man?
yeah, remember I sent the email with that Spider-Man. Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll come back.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll come back to that. Um, but yeah, I'm surprised that there isn't more like even involvement with, like, sure that they've been like helping with writing and stuff like that and art and things like that, but I would think that more DC writers and just passionate DC fans that are like heavily involved with producing DC stuff would be more interested in navigating the space for the entire landscape of the live action, because yeah, you got uh three different Batmans right now. You have
hmm,
Superman has been absent from movies in like what, 10 years, maybe more. As far as a solo movie goes, you got
right.
Harley Quinn, who's got a better animated version than the live action version. Not to say that the live action isn't any good, but the appearances of Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad versus the Birds of Prey versus the Suicide Squad, it's like, yes, she's the only reason why those movies are even respectable. But at the same time, like, I think Birds of Prey was a failure. I think it was just not good enough, and
Yeah, I didn't
it
think
is,
much of it.
yeah. As much as I want to be behind, and trust me, I love me some female led movies and characters and stuff, but that movie was just, it missed the mark. It wasn't good enough, and Suicide Squad, the first one, was she was the only good thing out of it. And it's just all over the place. You have several different Jokers going on. You have Walking Phoenix, you have Jared Leto, and you have the new one within the Batman. I can't remember his name right now. Like it's all over the place, and it's hard for someone that's casual to understand that Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth Prime, Earth whatever, all of this different stuff that they have going on, because they do it in the comics, and that's great. But even that is kind of almost like a reflection of the comics in a perfect way, and also in the exact mess that it is, and that the comics have all of these different Earths with these different uh, versions of characters, but also they've gotten rid of it because they wanted to consolidate it, and then they brought it back because people missed the different versions, and then they got rid of it, and it's gone back and forth over and over again, and they're doing the same thing with the movies, and it's just it's just a mess.
Right. So yeah, I mean, like you said, calling it a mess is spot on as far as what they've been doing with the DC universe or whatever. Um, and yeah, I mean, Margot Robbie. I liked Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I think she did a really good job at that character. But like I said, the first Suicide Squad was a disaster. Um, the second one was good. But like her standalone, like technically standalone, like with that Birds of Prey, it was I like it didn't really, yeah, I was bored with the movie. I was like, this is okay. I mean, what is this? It's whatever. Like obviously they're trying to have her separate from the Joker because the Jared Leto Joker was such a joke and a disaster in itself. So they were trying to, and Harley Quinn was well received, so they were trying to carry on the Harley Quinn storylines, but yeah, they couldn't really go anywhere with it. So we'll see. And I mean, speaking of, I don't know if you have more thoughts on this, but I mean, speaking on the DC redo. But speaking of disasters, Ezra Miller was arrested again for assault for a second time in Hawaii. Um, so, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with the Flash now? Like, are they? I know there was that talk about them meeting about his future with Warner Brothers and DCEU as the Flash. And then there's someone released a statement saying that was not true, but with with them doing this overhaul, it could make sense. I mean, I don't know how far they are in the movie, like as far as being done with it, because obviously it got pushed again a couple of months back. They pushed it like an entire year.
Yeah, to
So
next
I don't know
summer.
how. Yeah, so I don't know how much they're even done filming um, the movie. So who knows what like could they even scrap it entirely? Like I don't know.
I feel like they have so much writing on this movie with the whole Michael Keaton Batman thing, and him uh seemingly going to be the replacement for Ben Affleck's Batman. Again, we don't know exactly how they're going to be doing all of this stuff, but this now, like having if like I don't remember us talking about it officially on stream on camera, but I think after the first arrest a month ago, they had this emergency meeting at DC to talk about Ezra Miller and his future, and what to do about him or whatever. I don't remember if we actually said that on camera, but that's like a thing that happened about a month ago, and then he got arrested again. This is the second arrest, was a couple of weeks ago. So I don't know if there's if he's going to get any more fights, of course,
Oh, he
but
probably will.
he
He'll get in trouble
probably will.
again.
He just you know something else in Hawaii. I don't know what's going on in Hawaii. What are they serving in the drinks down there? But uh, like yeah, it's clearly he's got some issue in Hawaii, and they need to make sure he gets up out of there so he can start filming this movie again, and get things back on track. Uh, whether or not they keep him, because again, I know a lot of people would like to see Grant Gustin of the movie or the TV verse to replace him, and I think that's workable. I've never liked the way Grant Gustin looked in the Flash suit on the TV show. So hopefully, with a movie budget, they can give him something that looks good and it looks good on his, in particular, his head, and make that look better. But in general, the whole this whole situation is just like I don't know what to do. Like again, we don't know how far this movie is along. If they were to recast him, would that be a huge detriment? Is the reason why they delayed it because they're rewriting the movie and they have to reshoot scenes anyway? Because if that's the case, then a recasting wouldn't matter because they have to reshoot scenes, you know? Um, so you know, it's hard to say unless we're like directly in there and knowing
Right,
what they're planning.
but I think the reshoots were done or announced before like the first arrest happened.
Right, that's what I'm
Like they
saying. Like,
were
if they were going to do reshoots anyway, and they
all
are
right,
going to recast them, then it doesn't matter if it's Ezra Miller or somebody else because they have to do the
right,
reshoots.
right, right. And I think they're yeah, and they were like adding more Batman scenes supposedly, like with Ben Affleck. So I don't
Okay.
know, like it's you know when you're hearing all this stuff, it's so confusing. It just kind of just confusing. Like you said, we were hearing this like with the Warner Bros. Discovery, they want to do overall, but you know there's still all these movies planned that are coming out. Um, with various different things. Like you know, we're going to be talking about Aquaman here, Aquaman 2 in a little bit. That's another movie. Obviously, the Aquaman 1 did really well in theaters. I think the overall movie was like I thought it was entertaining. It wasn't anything fantastic overall, but like I thought it was entertaining. And like Jason
Highest
Momoa,
grossing DCEU movie.
right? And just Jason Momoa is just it's just he's just like we've mentioned multiple times. He's a huge draw, and like you know he's a fun actor and in general. So like it makes sense that you know they want to continue that him as Aquaman. I don't know what would happen, but if they did like an overhaul, would they still keep him? It would make sense to keep him because he's so popular. In general, it wouldn't like. But again, like I said, you know what are they gonna do with you know it just goofy. It's so goofy. But like I said, you know with Aquaman 2, they like it looks like they're gonna introduce um oh, before sorry, I did want to mention something about the Flash. You said Gustafsson. As far as him being Flash, I actually like his Barry Allen a lot better than Ezra Miller's. Like Ezra Miller's Barry, like he doesn't really act like Barry Allen. Like he's too goofy. I like the way Gus acts as Barry Allen. He's because Barry Allen's not like an immature. He's a very mature, like stable person, like a logical person. Like he's not like you know this awkward you know teenager. Like that's essentially what Ezra Miller portrays, like an awkward teenager.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I like the way Gustafsson portrays Barry Allen better. I think he's been like a good Barry Allen. And obviously with CW, which we'll get into later, but they don't really have the production to really do a lot of the stuff that you know you want to see. But yeah,
I had
but
always
yeah, like,
wondered that about Barry Allen too, because I don't have any comic book history or watching TV shows or any kind of knowledge on Barry. So my first Barry was
Grant.
the Justice League version, and
Oh, okay.
I'm like, okay, that just seems wrong for his character, like him acting all weird and like I get the energetic part because you know he's a Flash, he's all over the place, like that's cool, like it makes sense. But in general, like it doesn't feel like Barry Allen, even though I know literally nothing about Barry Allen. It still doesn't feel like Barry Allen.
Right,
So
it wasn't like I said. Grant Gustafsson does a much better job as Barry Allen. Like that's what Barry Allen's supposed to be. Like if you've ever watched any of the CW Flash shows, um, I mean, I don't know what it's like right now because I stopped watching it. Um, I want to say a couple of years back, just because like I kind of got a point where I just wasn't watching a lot of network television anymore. Um, but yeah, I got to a point where I just didn't want to watch those anymore. But yeah, but he, like I said, the Flash show was really good, and he's yeah definitely acts more like how Barry Allen should act in general. So yeah, definitely, yeah. So we'll moving on. Like I said, Aquaman 2. It was and they're introducing Arthur Curry's son in here. As far as Arthur Curry, like he's supposed to be like apparently a big um part of the movie too, like a significant like part of what they want to do in Aquaman 2, um, and kind of introducing him. So I was like Arthur Curry Jr. Essentially, that's his Arthur Curry's son's name. So that's interesting. Note, like we mentioned, they're continuing on with Aquaman, and Aquaman obviously is such a big hit with Jason Momoa. And the first movie, like I said, I know No Man mentioned like he really enjoyed the movie. I think it got mixed reviews. I think there's a lot of people that thought it was good. Like I said, I thought it was entertaining. Um, but yeah, like I said, it makes sense they want to continue it, and it's interesting that they're adding his son into this because obviously that means they didn't. I can't remember like did they end it at the first one with them getting married? They were just kind of together, right? Not like
No, I don't think
officially
they were
married
married.
yet, right?
Yeah, I don't think
Right,
so.
yeah. So I guess obviously a lot of time will pass since I'm assuming years will pass since um or maybe a couple of years, who knows how long did technically have to have that many years pass to have a kid together. But yeah, uh that's supposedly be part of the storyline for Aquaman 2. There's not a lot of details involved or known, but that's part of what's going to be in Aquaman 2.
And
Any thoughts
oh, yeah, I
on
don't
that
have any
or
thoughts now. But lastly, with DC stuff, getting
right?
back into the whole discussion with the restructuring. At least I think it's related that the Legends of Tomorrow and the Batwoman shows have both been canceled. And as of right now, Flash is still supposedly having another season, but it's kind of a rumor that it's going to be a really short one. I believe they said that Grant Gustin has like is talking about or trying to negotiate a shortened contract for the next season. So they like it's leading to believe that the Flash is also going to get canceled as well. But officially, Legends of Tomorrow and Batwoman have both been canceled. So that only leaves the Flash and the Superman and Lois show. Um, are the only things that are left on the CW, and it's they've both been going on. They've all been going on. I think what Batwoman is like 3 seasons. Legends of Tomorrow. I don't know, maybe like
7?
5 or 7. It's been that long.
Or
Dang.
maybe no, I'm thinking Flash is 7
Seven,
seasons.
yeah, I think Flash is 7, and they're going on season 8. And I think Legends
Right,
of Tomorrow is like 4 or 5 seasons. But
right.
like it's been a while. It's been a long time, and a lot of people like yourself, they like you started watching, you dropped off. Some people don't even realize that they were still going. Uh, we've all kind of evolved in how we watch all of this comic book content, and especially in the days of Disney Plus with all of the Marvel Studios stuff and all of it being related to the MCU and all connected and stuff. Sure, technically, Legends of Tomorrow and Arrowverse and all of that stuff is connected because it's all connected for DC with the Crisis on Infinite Earths storyline, but it's not really connected. It is, but it's not, And people kind of want more. And also, you have with this restructuring and stuff like that. I believe this DC Entertainment that they believe they want to sell off the CW. So once that happens, that they wouldn't have any access to the shows, regardless. And then I don't think they want anyone that is potentially going to buy the CW wants to be able to start off fresh. So it just kind of leaves up in the air of what's going to happen with Superman and Lois, if that's going to continue, if that's going to get moved over to HBO Max, which is where DC is trying to grow their TV space with Peacemaker and the whole Batman shows with the Arkham show, the Penguin show, all of that's going to be on HBO Max. So everything is going towards being more connected to and more centralized. Just like in this conversation, just trying to be more focused. And everything on the CEW is just kind of off, a little off. So, I mean, that's my opinion of it, at least.
Yeah, I mean, like, there, as far as like the overhaul, like, I'm sure that you're right. That probably is part of it. Like, they want to take those shows and put them on like HBO Max and do their own thing with the characters. But I think, like you say, they like that, like various reasons why see like these shows are kind of getting canceled and not doing as well, because like the increasing like complexity of the shows, like the interconnecting narratives, large casts that have been like cited as something that has discouraged a lot of casual fans to want to even watch. Like further separation from the actual DCEU, like this Arrowverse has nothing to do with um, what they're doing with the HBO Max Warner Brothers side with all the DC Justice League movies and all that stuff that they have going on there. And basically all of that has kind of frustrated fans and made the ratings low. Really, the ratings is a big reason why they just another big reason why they're just scrapping it. Like Flash, like the next season that they're doing is supposed to be shortened season. Like it's supposed to be the last season, but it's going to be shortened. It's not even going to be like a full season. So, and like you said, Lois and I haven't watched the Superman Lois and Clark either. Um, I haven't. I don't know if it's good. Like I don't. I haven't really asked anyone if it's good, but yeah, maybe they'll end that quickly too. Because like obviously they're cutting all these out. They had Black Lightning ended. Um, what was the other one? I think Supergirl you had mentioned that ended. They're obviously we already mentioned Batwoman and Legends of
That woman.
Tomorrow ending. They had all these different ones. They had another Stargirl that it's not going to be going on anymore. I don't think
It
anymore.
didn't. I feel like that one moved to HBO, but maybe it's just the
Oh, did
previous
it?
season. Maybe it might be the previous seasons, but I can't remember. But just like to that point, though, like Doom Patrol's on HBO, Titans is on HBO, and it makes more sense to get more subscribers HBO Max and get more connected and bigger budgets like too, because like again, like all of the Flash and Arrow stuff, the stuff is really low cost as far as the set designs and the CGI and getting in high profile actors and actresses and stuff like that and getting them involved. Like John Cena's not going to be on a CW show. You're not going to
Right.
get um Jason Momoa to come down and make an appearance on Arrow or on Legends of Tomorrow or anything like that. But on HBO Max, where they can afford to bring him down there and even be for a 5 minute scene in a show with whatever his name is, Peacemaker, like yeah, that will work out just fine. And having Robert Pattinson do a whole series on HBO Max. Yeah, you can afford that on HBO Max. You can't afford that on CW.
No,
Even if
yeah. I
even
mean,
if it would bring in fans and stuff, like if Robert Pattinson appeared in the CW show, people would watch it, but would they watch it enough to make enough money to make up for paying him to be there? I don't know.
no, and I think so. Like they had Ezra Miller like for a split second in the Flash, the CW.
Hmm.
Well, you wonder how much that cost them. Like it was basically when they were doing like the crossover one, when Arrowverse was coming into end. Like they're showing Oliver Queen dying essentially, and basically they showed like with all the Earths, the different Earths, they showed Ezra Miller for like maybe 5 seconds. Like I said, and who knows how much that cost them. So getting like someone like a Robert Pattinson on network CW, like I don't think. I mean, I don't know how realistic that is, and that'll probably cost them more than it takes to make one. And like who knows? I mean, I don't know how that would cost them, but yeah, like I said, it makes sense why these shows are trying to get canceled. Like they were, like I said, they were entertaining in the beginning. They were very entertaining in the beginning. Like the first two seasons of Arrow were really good. They started straying eventually, and trying to get too much into that CW, like teen drama esque, which kind of ruined some stuff. But like even like the Legends of Tomorrow, in the beginning was really good. Like the Flash is probably the most popular one. I was watching for like 5 seasons of it, at least like 4 or 5 seasons of it. 4 seasons maybe. I don't remember exactly how many seasons, but um, and I think also what hurt it too is that the CW Arrowverse stuff is the pandemic. Um, that definitely did not help at all because they had to have like a layoff. They had to stop production, and that's probably also hurt. Like people probably forgot about the shows. Like, is this going to be on anymore? What's going on?
Mhm.
So yeah, um, that's the end of the DC stuff. I know I accidentally skipped the Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse, and you wanted to get obviously your thoughts on that. They were changing the dates of when that movie's coming out to they changed it to June 2nd, 2023. Um,
Right. Yeah. So actually, got to recall, in case you maybe have forgotten, there are two Spider-Man Into the
right.
Spider-Verse movies coming out. There was Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 and Part 2, that were supposed to actually originally it was supposed to come out in April of 2022, which would have
Hmm.
been last month. So if the pandemic didn't happen and everything was a perfect world, we could have actually watched the second Spider Verse movie by now. But it was delayed until I believe it was December, and now it's been delayed again as they announced at CinemaCon. Across the Spider Verse will be coming out on June 2nd, 2023. And they've also decided to rename the movies because it's now just Across the Spider Verse. And then the movie after that will be called Beyond the Spider Verse. And that movie is coming out as of now, March 29th, 2024. So Across the Spider Verse, summer 2023, Beyond the Spider Verse, March 2024. So hopefully that means that they're just going to knock them both out at the same time. And then the second one won't be delayed, or I should say the third movie in the franchise won't be delayed greatly if they just do it all at the same time.
Yeah, um, that's definitely true. I think it's kind of weird because they had it all planned out and it was kind of quickly announced that they changed the dates. It wasn't like a long process had been set in stone and everything was going to be coming and being done, and then they pushed it all of a sudden like we were expecting in December. Obviously the first layback because of the pandemic, but like you said, the December release,
Hmm.
them changing it pretty quickly. The trailer came out what
It was
and
December when they
during
dropped the trailer. Yeah,
No Way Home, right? So
around
um,
that time. Yeah, like a week before.
right, like around that time, it was. I think I remember watching the trailer in when I went to watch No Way
Right.
Home, um,
Hmm.
as well. Because I think I had seen it before that, but then I remember watching it at No Way Home as well. But yeah, they definitely changed it out pretty quick. So yeah, I don't think there was any issues as far as like production the second time. I don't think there was anything like that, creative issues or anything. I think they just probably trying to make it a little more like make it more sense timeline wise. So um that's about all we have. I think there was one question I think Nomad had. Do you guys think they'll ever do a Planet Hulk? I think there's being rumored that they have. I mean, it's very loose rumor. It's not like a confirmed rumor, like confirmed or anything. But that's what they supposedly want to do after She Hulk. Like they want to do they actually want to do a standalone Hulk movie, which will be the first time
Hmm.
in a long time that they do a standalone Hulk movie.
I think the
Um,
rumor is that it's actually going to be World War Hulk and not
oh, is that World
Planet.
War Hulk?
Yeah, I think I think not Planet Hulk, but it'd be World War Hulk. Not
Oh,
that
okay.
again. It's not that. I mean, again, it's just a rumor because we don't know what they plan on doing. But it does make more sense because for Planet Hulk, he'd have to get kicked off the planet some reason. They already did that
Oh
in
yeah,
Ragnar.
the Planet Hulk is already That was that was part of Ragnarok. Yeah, the
Mhm.
this Planet Hulk storyline. You're right.
So yeah, they'd have to make something happen where he gets pissed off. Maybe he finds out that Betty is dead because they haven't used that character since 2008 or 2009. But maybe he finds out Betty's dead and he gets pissed off, and there goes World War Hulk, and World Breaker Hulk comes along. So that would work out just fine. It's just whether or not I forget who has the rights to him. I believe it's Columbia Pictures, something like that.
Do they still own his rights, or did they that transfer over to Disney? Because Disney's
No, they
obviously going to be.
that's why they don't have any solo Hulk movies. It's not because they don't want to make Hulk movies. It's because Columbia doesn't want to be like Sony and be friendly. But they are still allowed to use Hulk in ensemble movies like the Avengers and stuff like that. But they won't allow for a Hulk movie. So I believe it's Columbia, but I can't remember exactly the studio that has his rights because they have this. I believe they also have Namor's rights as well.
Namor, yeah. You mean Prince Namor?
Yeah,
Yeah, because he's supposed to be in Black Panther too.
right.
Um,
And that would be like I would assume that would be considered like an ensemble movie because it's not a Namor movie, you know.
yeah, so I mean, they were saying that supposedly the leak was that it's supposed to be a big Phase 4 title, um, but it was kind of like in a 4chan post, and an anonymous user posted a number of alleged details about Marvel's still unconfirmed World War Hulk adaptation. So, according to the user, the project will split the World War Hulk storyline into two movies, with the first following Ruffalo's Bruce Banner as he journeys into space to find his son Scar. So supposedly he's supposed to have a son, in which they could fit that in because we don't know what happened those years with Ragnarok. Like
Mm.
he was on that planet, Sakaar. He was on that planet for multiple years. So he's supposed to go look for his son Scar, and the second adaptation allegedly features appearance from multiple MCU heroes, um, where they try to go and kill the Hulk because he's gone way out of hand. Essentially, and that's something that they're deciding to do. That's supposed to be the World War Hulk storyline, essentially. Um, so yeah, and the rumor is like the heroes for the second film were supposed to be like She-Hulk, Captain Marvel, Captain America. Well, Mackie's Captain America, not Chris Evans, obviously. Doctor Strange, Hawkeye, War Machine, Yelena Belova, which is Florence Pugh, that's Black Widow's sister. Cersei, from the Eternals, played by Gemma Chan, Black Knight. So yeah, that's supposed to be like the loose rumor that they're gonna do. Um, I mean, I don't know. Like, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting because like you never really hear how long they want to like how long Mike Mark Ruffalo wants to do the Hulk. You know, like is he like Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, where he's getting tired of doing this role. He's never, you never really hear about him a lot. Like, you hear about Chris Hemsworth where he says, I'm open to do this movie or be Thor as long as they'll have me." Essentially, he's not backed out of it. Um, Mark Ruffalo hasn't. I don't think he's never ever really like his contract isn't up anytime soon. Like obviously he's going to be in She Hulk.
Hmm.
Um,
And it's by the way, it's Universal Pictures that owns the cinematic rights
right.
to the
Okay.
Hulk.
Okay, I didn't know that. I thought those rights transfer, but it makes sense because the Hulk, the one with Ed Norton, is not on Disney Plus, so that makes sense.
Hmm.
Even though that movie is part of the MCU, Like Spider-Man, all the Spider-Man movies, none of those are on Disney Plus because they're owned by Sony. So it makes sense that I never really thought of it because I guess they haven't really. I guess because it makes sense because they haven't been like a big thing in the news about them fighting over the rights like Sony and Disney have because they want to make a new deal for Spider-Man and make money out of it. I mean, I guess a good thing is at least Universal isn't doing goofy things with the Hulk like Sony's doing with Spider-Man. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's like weird. Like that's like honestly a relief thing. Like even if they don't want to play ball, and again, I know, like, but that's part of the reason why Sony is doing what they're doing is because they know at this point, especially with the way that Tom Holland has publicly expressed, and everyone would totally uh, cancel basically Sony if they try to pull him directly out of the MCU and do what they did with Vulture and just pull him out of the MCU and start making Sony Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland. Uh, that they can't do that. So they're trying to build out with what they have with all of these other Sony, Spider-Man characters. If Universal were to do that, it wouldn't go well, especially at this
no,
point. And what's weird about this, the whole contract is that Marvel still can use the Hulk, they can use Namor, and whatever other characters are included. I don't believe there's that many outside of that, but they can use them. They just can't use them in a movie that is led by or titled with Hulk or Namor or something like that. But I mean, I guess they can use She-Hulk no problem, or maybe it might even be just a movie thing where She-Hulk can have a TV show because it's on TV and not a movie. That Universal can't really combat it.
yeah,
But this is like a really weird contract that has these different things that it's really unique to Universal and Marvel because it's not the same way with Sony. It's not like everyone has the same kind of contract. So it's just a weird situation.
right, right. So yeah, we'll see. Like, I mean, they've talked about, and obviously, like the storyline itself, could be much different. MCU could do a much different, excuse me, storyline because obviously Civil War storyline is a lot different in the comics than what they actually ended up doing. Like very, very different. Obviously, the basis of them fighting amongst each other is still it is in the comics. It is Captain America's side versus Iron Man's side. But like everything that happens is very, very different in the comics than what they did in the movie. So it doesn't mean that they have to do what the actual comic book did. Doesn't mean that's what they'll go with, or I mean, as far as the actual storyline is concerned. But we'll see. Any final thoughts on all the stuff we've talked about here before we wrap up?
Yeah, just like reading comments like with Muck Muck saying with Mark Ruffalo plays a cheesy Hulk as a dark character. I agree. At the same time, Mark Ruffalo hasn't had a solo movie, so we haven't really had an opportunity to see him explore the character that way. So I mean, we've seen him quite a bit. Age of Ultron, that was a little dark. We've seen Ragnarok and Endgame and stuff, but we really just haven't seen a Hulk movie. So with Mark Ruffalo specifically, and I do like Edward Norton's version of the Hulk quite a bit actually. But
Yeah, I
um,
like that movie. A
I
lot of
really like
people,
that movie.
I
Yeah,
liked it a lot, and apparently people hated it. Like what? Like why? It was a
yeah,
good movie.
yeah. I
It's
thought
like,
it was good. I really
I
liked the
didn't
end fight with Abomination. Hulk
right, and I
smash. It
mean,
was great.
I I get why they moved on from Ed Norton because that like there's a lot of rumors that he's a very difficult person to work with, and on set and stuff like that. So they wanted to move on from him in that regards. But like I thought he did good, and I think he looks more like a Bruce Banner than Mark Ruffalo does too. Like that
Agree.
skinny, nerdy looking look. And then obviously he's supposed to be a complete opposite of the Hulk is supposed to be complete opposite of what he is. But yeah, I thought like I really enjoyed it. It was a lot better than the what was it, the Eric Bana one, which was just a
Yeah,
disaster. That
yeah.
one was just dumb. But yeah, I don't have any other final thoughts. Obviously, as always, please check out our past shows that we've done. There are obviously so many. We really appreciate guys like Cliff, Nomad, Matt, jumping on with us here and interacting and with us in general. Like, if you guys have any ideas or thoughts on things that you want us to talk about, obviously, I know you guys have made recommendations. I know the Obi-Wan show is supposed to be coming at some point. I'll probably watch that. I don't think that's supposed to be connected to the other stuff, so that might just be a solo show on its own, which I'll probably check out. I know a lot of Star Wars fans um, within people that listen to us. So definitely, yeah, we'll try to do that. But yeah, like I said, check us out, our other shows out. Check out everything that Barroom Network does. I know with the Bears, the draft that recent had, they had a lot of great content that they did. Talked about each prospect that the Bears drafted and all the various stuff. Obviously, baseball. There's a couple of baseball shows on there. I do a Bulls podcast on the Barroom Network called Bulls Gold. Check that out as well. But yeah, thank you again for tuning in to us. From myself and for Carl, we'll see you guys next time.
All right. Have a great night.